journey. You know, it's interesting when you talk about how do you figure out what you want to do with your life, right? I mean, it sounds like such a big question, especially where you all sit right now in this stage of your life. Trying to figure that out might seem very overwhelming. There's so many options, and how do you know what you want to do? And it feels like a big decision when you think about, you know, your career path. So this is how my professional journey all came together. In 2013, I graduated with my MBA, which, as you all know, is a master's in business administration. So it's more of a generic college career path because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So I figured, let me go to school and just learn everything I can about business. I knew I loved business. I didn't know what in business I wanted to do or what type of business I wanted to be involved with. So that was the path I took. I started out in the corporate world that year as well, and started in a very entry-level role. I was an information systems analyst. So I was doing a lot of data analysis. I was looking at systems. I was crunching numbers, things like that. From there, I got promoted into the manager of business applications. So that's where I started to really dabble in software development and, you know, being able to create efficiencies through technology. And that's really where I figured out, like, aha, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. From there, I got promoted to director. My company ended up selling to a larger organization, and I ended up taking a position here in Irvine with another firm that's very similar to the one I worked at prior. And in 2019, I was promoted to vice president, and that's kind of where we are today. So how I found my passion, as I mentioned to you, you know, when I entered college, I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. I felt, you know, a little concerned and lost, to be honest, because I felt like it was such a big decision. And if I didn't make the right choice, then, you know, I potentially was going to ruin my career and not be happy in whatever I ended up doing. So again, went to college for business. And when you talk about business, you see here, I've got this circle, which is the corporate business functions, and around it are all of these things that make a business tick, right? You've got accounting, you've got human resources, technology, finance, et cetera. And so with the business route through college, I was able to learn about all of those different aspects of business and how businesses are managed and how they're made successful and all of that fun stuff. And it's funny because it left me a little even more confused because I'm like, I like all of this. I really do. I enjoy everything in business. And how possibly am I going to choose one path and specialize in that path? And so what I figured out was technology is one of the functions within the business that you're able to touch every piece of the organization. So in technology, you're really able to help all of the departments and learn about all of the departments and how they do their jobs and how you can help make their jobs easier and better ultimately. So here, you know, I was very open to feedback. I welcomed mentorship. I learned from people. I explored my interests as I was going to all of the courses in college and learning about all of the different subject matters. I really explored the ones that I found interesting and dug a little bit deeper and looked into career choices related to those specific paths. Ultimately, never stopped learning and always challenged myself. So ultimately, when I landed in an information systems analyst position, that was where I first got into technology. And I figured out really that I was able to touch all of the business pieces that I was interested in through college. So it worked out really well for me. When you talk about technology as a career path, there's a lot of different routes you can go and take. The two main routes in technology are either infrastructure or business applications. And when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking more about networking and hardware. So I'm issuing you a laptop. I'm making sure your laptop works. All of the security related to your network and infrastructure. Support. So you're giving users end user support when, you know, their computer stops working, or if they need to install a specific software like Microsoft Word, for example, you would help them with that. And then server management. So how are you hosting your applications and your data? And are those servers secure? And are they, you know, are they up as often as you need them to be up, et cetera? And database administration, which is, you know, digging into the database, making sure it's operating efficiently and things related to that. And then you come over to the business application side of IT, and that's where I am currently, which is more about building software applications or subscribing to services to provide software applications to a company or organization. the architecture behind all of those applications. So, how is it built out? What services are you using? What does the database schema look like? How is the data related and organized? What is the user interface going to look like? Things like that. Software development, which is, writing custom code to build software applications, which at my current position, we have several custom software applications that we have built and that we maintain. And that is really where I am very passionate, because you get to come up with this idea and you work with the business to form an idea. And then ultimately you turn it into something tangible that the business gets to use. And you can see that it improves the business, and you're able to kind of measure success against that. And then also DevOps and QA, which kind of go with the software development cycle. Application support, so that's all of the end user support we would provide all of the users in the company when they're working on the software. If they find a bug you have to resolve, or if they're just unsure of how to use the tool set, you would help them with that. Data and analytics, so you've got all these software applications you're using, you're pushing data into them to collect information related to your process and workflow. But what do you do with all that data, right? If it's not organized in a place where it makes sense and it's normalized for consumption, then ultimately it's not worth much. So making sure that your data is standardized and that you can report off of it and ultimately make business decisions off of it. And then lastly, system integration. So this is all of those API connections or those data feeds. It's really the way by which all of your software applications will discuss or work together to connect to each other. So required qualifications and skills. So as you can see, there's tons of different paths you can take when you get into an IT career. I only touched on a portion of those. There's even like further specialties you can go into. So if technology interests you, I really encourage you to kind of dig in and look at what that might mean for you and your specific interests. But for the most part, to keep it pretty general, you'll want to get a degree in computer science or related. So if you're wanting to actually do the software development or be that security engineer, you'll want to get a computer science degree or something related to that. If you're wanting to be more like a role I play, which is I manage all of it and I make sure it's executed properly and I implement governance over it, then a business-focused degree would be sufficient for that type of role. You can always also get a master's degree with a specialty in computer science or security, cybersecurity, something like that. Also, technology certifications will take you a long way. So you can really learn anything you want to learn nowadays. You guys are very, very fortunate in that there's so many online courses that you're able to take to really dive into a subject matter and become certified in it. And as an employer and as somebody who hires people to do this type of work, I can tell you that I look at those certifications and those do mean a lot. College degrees obviously are very important, but these certifications tell me that you understand the specific area of technology that I need you to know for the role. So those are very, very important too. Self-guided coursework, with or without a certification, digging into some of the online material that you can get your hands on related to technology will be so beneficial. Not only will it prove that you understand a topic and that you have some experience with it, but it'll also help you understand whether you're actually interested in that or not. And then experience. So whether you're doing something as a fun side project, maybe you're building a little app, just for fun, or you're digging into some type of online coursework, or you're helping somebody, build a web page or whatever it is, get all the experience you can get. That's really where the magic happens. School is excellent and you're going to learn a lot of great things going through school, but nothing can compare to actually doing the work itself. So as much as you can have your own experiences and do things like that, I would definitely encourage you to do so. So I want to talk next about some rewards and challenges of a career in technology. So the rewards, you've got the ability to make a big impact on an organization. So if you're someone who likes to see, tangible outcomes to something you're putting in for your career, this is going to be a great path for you to take. You're able to innovate, which is really fun. One thing with technology, it can be seen as a challenge or as a reward, is that it's always evolving. Every couple of years, there's some new technology that's come out, and there's some new way of doing things, and something that's way better than it was a few years ago. So you really got to make sure that you're staying on top of those technology trends, which can be really fun and allow you to innovate and come up with new ideas and use the newest, latest, and greatest trends to build something really neat for the business. You get to collaborate. So again, when I talked about my path and how I went to school for business, because I loved everything related to business, technology allows me to collaborate with all those business units. So I'm constantly on calls and meetings with marketing and with accounting and with operations, understanding their challenges and their problems so that me and my team can come up with a solution to help them. And so that collaboration piece is really, really huge when it comes to technology. It's important that we understand and listen to the business so that we can help them improve. That's really why we're here as a department. We're a service organization for our companies. Continuous learning. So again, with technology trends, always moving, you're always able to learn something new. And problem solving and critical thinking, those kind of go hand in hand, but you're having to troubleshoot issues with a user or dig into something that's not working quite right and make improvements to it, which keeps your day fun. Really, you never know what the next day is going to bring. And that's something that I really love about my role specifically, is there's always some new challenge to take on and learn from. And then customer focus. Ultimately, for my specific role, my customer is the internal employees at my company. And then they serve our customers, which are our residents of our properties. But really in technology, you have to have a customer focus, right? Because you're building these tools that people are using. You have to care about how their experience is. The challenges, so if we go to the flip side of that, I said this one as a reward, but it's also a challenge, the rapid evolution in technology trends. It's a lot to keep up with, and it's definitely fun, but you have to really make sure that you're staying on top of that as things change. And then security. Security is a big one. You hear about data breaches that happen at these big organizations, and that's a really big risk. And it's something that everyone in the technology industry has to keep at the forefront of our minds. But really, security it's a business issue. Everybody has to be mindful of security. And so that's definitely something that's a challenge, but also, is just kind of one of those necessary evils of being in the technology space. Change management. If you're in the technology world, you've got to be comfortable with change because, like I said, change happens all the time with technology trends. Another one is that we're a cost center. So, some of the other departments within an organization can be seen as a revenue stream. They're bringing in revenue for the company. On the IT side, typically, at least in my organization, we're spending money, right? Because we need money and budget to build these applications or to buy this software or to buy this piece of hardware we want to try out and test and prototype. So, that's one challenge, is that you have to go out and you have to argue for your budget to spend the money you need to really make good change for the business. And then next, I put fast, cheap, good. Everyone wants something fast, cheap, and they want it to be good. And usually you can only pick two. You can't get all three. So that's one of those things with technology that you have to be mindful of, is really selling the process and why you either need more time or more money, or less quality. If they want it fast and cheap, then they're going to have to suffer on the quality a little bit. And then finally, talent competition. There's a lot of great talent out there, and finding the right people for the right role can sometimes be challenging, especially in a market like today where there's a lot of good need for people with technology skills. And a lot of times the candidates that are really qualified go really fast. So for my position where I'm actually hiring the people, if I'm not going to make a decision quickly to make a job offer to somebody, chances are they've already found another position, which is a really good thing if you're in your shoes, where you'll be out there in the job market soon looking for positions of your own. So tips and advice. For me, integrity is number one. If you're doing the right thing and you have the right frame of mind, you're going to go far. And I really believe that. I think also, just kind of on that line of thinking, is the culture. I would encourage you guys to really, really take note of the culture of these organizations that you're looking to go out and work for once you're ready to look for a position. And make sure it's a good fit for you, because you can do something that you absolutely love and you're passionate about, but if the culture isn't good and you're not in a good work environment, it's not going to be fun anymore. So I would say, make sure that when you're job hunting down the road, once you've chosen your career path and all of that, that you're really mindful of that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Not everyone knows everything. We just don't. At my level, I certainly don't know everything, and no one ever will. So it's always important to ask your questions and don't shy away from that. Challenge yourself, speak up and negotiate. Hunt out that experience. Like I said earlier, nothing is better than actually doing the work. That's where you're really going to gain the knowledge that you need. So find that experience for yourself. Never stop learning, be a team player, and embrace change. So with that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A so we can chat and I can answer specific questions for all of you. So does anyone have anything for me?
Students, feel free to just shout out your questions, or you can type them in the chat and I can read them out for you. You can always directly send me the question as well if you want to remain anonymous. All right, we have a question. How did having a business degree as opposed to computer science degree affect the kinds of opportunities that you had?
That's a great question. So for me, I didn't want to take a path where I was an actual software engineer or, someone who was writing code or, being a database administrator, those types of roles. If you're looking to actually serve in a tactical IT role where you're going to need to understand computer science at that level and be able to write code and be a software engineer or something related to that, then you'll definitely want to take that path. For me, as I mentioned, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And so keeping it more business focused and more generic made a lot of sense for me at the time. But if you're interested in computers and how they work and all of that, definitely you can't go wrong with going down the computer science route. I will say though, even if I had pivoted and decided that I wanted to be a software engineer, having had a business degree, with all of the self-learning paths that you can take online, it would have still been possible. So for example, Amazon Web Services, they have a ton of certifications you can go out and get. You can study open source libraries for code and figure out how to write in those languages. Ultimately, if you land a role where you're gaining the experience of that specific path, you're going to have that on your resume, and that's really important. So yeah, I would say if you have a targeted path, go that route. It'll serve you better. You'll get there faster. But if you keep it more generic for education-wise and you gain tactical experience in the actual workforce, you'll still be okay.
Wonderful. Okay, and our next question. Is there a specific task that you enjoyed the most during your career?
Yes, so for me, it's all about actually being a part of building software, proprietary software applications as we call them. So this is where, you come to the table with a specific business problem you're trying to solve, or a gap maybe that your organization has. You conceptualize an idea on how you can solve that problem for the business, and then you build it. So in my case, I manage the team who builds it, but together and collectively, we come up with the ideas, we write the requirements, we go to development, write the code, test it, and then we get to train the business on how to use this new software tool. And ultimately, we're able to measure how it's improved the business. So I realize that's not one single task. There's a lot of tasks that go into that process, but building software to serve the organization is hands down where my passion is, and it's my most favorite thing about my job.
And let's see, what specific learning / MOOC courses do you recommend taking?
That's really going to depend on what you're interested in. Do you have any ideas on what sparks your interest?
To the student that asked that question, if you want to respond in the chat to me. Data science.
Ooh, data science. Okay. Yeah, big data is huge right now. And without data, you're nothing. So I think that's a fantastic career choice. For data science, you're definitely going to want to learn software applications that allow you to analyze data. You're going to want to know statistical models and a lot of mathematics that go into that. So I would say, definitely on the mathematics side would be very important. And then ultimately just making sure you're able to understand data science applications like R is one that comes to mind for me. But just understanding how to build algorithms, how to understand big data, work with it efficiently, and ultimately visually represent it to the end user, whoever's going to consume that data. Because the whole thing about data science is you're using data, large volumes of data that the businesses are capturing or that they're subscribing to. And you're helping them formulate assumptions or, an idea that they think might be happening. You're able to either prove that that's happening or prove that it's not happening, and also drive really important business decisions. So hopefully that answered your question. I know it was a little tangent there.
Okay, next question. Is there a self-learning application or website that you would recommend to start getting into computer science?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm drawing a blank on one that it's called. I will get it back to Jacqueline to share with you all. But if you Google just like open source code courses, you'll find a number of online learning libraries that will allow you to learn different code languages and kind of test your knowledge and teach it to you. There's tons of them out there. Also, a lot of the big hosting providers, AWS is one that my company uses, so I tend to focus on them the most. They have so many different services out there that they'll allow you to take coursework against to really learn those. So I would definitely encourage you to get a really good understanding of just the architecture of an application and the different languages that you can learn. .NET is a big one. It's one of the languages that have been around the longest, so it'll serve you well to kind of learn the framework of .NET. .NET Core specifically is an open source one. So yeah, do a little Googling. You'll find a bunch, but I'll send you out one that I've personally recommended before that I can't think of right now for some reason.
Are there any specific ways that are effective in building experience?
Yes. Once you're out in the job market, actually doing work and you're employed with a company, don't shy away from picking up little side projects to help maybe different departments or whatnot with that. As far as before you're in the actual job market, there are, little week-long camps you can go to learn about things, or fun kind of hackathon, you'll hear them called, seminars that people will throw that you're able to kind of submit an entry to or build something up that's a prototype. Really, it's a throwaway kind of thing. So don't shy away from just chasing some different opportunities that you see. Keep your eyes open. Subscribe to things that interest you, that are in the industry you're interested in. So get on the newsletter for AWS if you're interested in that. And anytime they have new services come out, they'll send information, and just learn about them, read about them.
Why is learning the basics of technology and cybersecurity still important and practical for people who don't want to go into a technology field?
Yes. So when I talked a little bit earlier about security specifically, I said security is a business problem. It's an everyone problem, right? It's not just a technology problem. No matter which department or type of work you end up pursuing, you're going to need some level of technology knowledge. Everything that we do these days is all backed by technology. So it'll serve you really well to understand, at least in a basic way, how technology works, the importance of data quality, and how you can help support security in whatever organization you end up landing.
All right. And could you specify which types of tech specializations are available for someone who wants to do business and entrepreneurship?
Yes. That's a great one. I think for entrepreneurship specifically, without knowing exactly what type of business you're interested in creating and building, I would say you're going to need to understand how to build a website, how to build and maintain a website. So some level of web development. There are a lot of website applications that are very user friendly, that you can kind of drag and drop widgets and build your own website in a very easy manner. WordPress is one that comes to mind. Squarespace is another. And so, kind of learning those types of tools so that you can manage your own storefront, whatever that ends up being for your specific business that you end up building. You're also going to want to understand kind of how to do email campaigns and what an email management service can give you as far as tracking your open rates and click-throughs and things like that. Those tend to be more marketing type thoughts, but you have to use a software application to get there. So things like that, you're going to want to know whether you end up, building your own company or working for another one.
This is Dalton. How much did you know about your career before college?
Zero. Zero. I did not know where I wanted to end up, and it was a scary feeling to have. And some of you, I suspect, might be having those same types of feelings. I think once I got into school, like I mentioned, and started to gain exposure to the various functions of business, and I learned what was interesting to me. And then once I landed in IT specifically, I had this light bulb moment, like, aha, this is exactly what I should be doing. I'm able to touch every aspect of the business and really make a difference, and that was important to me, So yeah, I didn't go into college knowing what I wanted to do. I didn't even go into my first IT role knowing IT very well. I mean, I had taken basic coursework related to technology, but again, it's all in your experience. So the more you learn doing the work you're doing, that's where the real value comes in.
This is Dalton.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry. Do you know any any good websites that we can learn technology from, like on our own?
Yes. So there's some that will teach you kind of code and how to write SQL, which is a way to query a database in the language of that database. So those will be really, really good resources for you. And I'm kicking myself for not having them prepared. So I will get those over to you guys so she can share them out. But if you start to look into, services that I'll just say AWS provides, for example, the AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. It's a hosting platform. They have a ton of services that you can use to build software applications. They have a lot of like AI, machine learning type of services. They have like OCR services that will scan documents and copy the text into a form for you. Image recognition services, queuing services, communication services, just tons and tons of things. So starting there is also pretty cool because it'll just open your mind to what's available. And then maybe if one interests you, you can start to do a little bit more research down that path versus another. So definitely start there.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great questions. We have another one. Where or how did you personally learn the skills that you use for your specific style of career?
Yes. So for me, I learned by doing. I learned by having fantastic mentors who are willing to teach me. That's so important. I think without that, I would not be where I am today. And that's why now where I am today, I take that very seriously as far as mentorship I'm able to give to someone else, teach them, because that's really where you're going to get most of your knowledge. So, as you're going through school or even now in high school, if there's a teacher who who does something that you're interested in, ask them more questions. Ask if you can kind of learn what they're doing and how they do it and how they got where they are. Through college, once you're in college and you have a professor who teaches a subject you're really interested in, ask them for further mentorship. A lot of times you'll find that people are willing to do that and to teach you. And again, that's why I am where I am. When I first started at my information systems analyst position, you know, I didn't even know Excel very well. And Excel is one of those things that you just have to be proficient in if you're an analyst, because you have to be able to crunch a large number of data at one time. And thankfully, I had a peer, someone who, you know, was in a similar role to me at the company I got hired at, who was willing to teach me and show me how to do new formulas that I wasn't aware of. And honestly, Google's your friend. Don't ever be ashamed to Google something. Even at the level I'm at now, I still have to Google things sometimes, and that's okay. So don't be afraid to do more research if you don't understand something. That's where you'll get your learning.
What is the best way to apply for tech internships?
Yes, so it always helps if you have some sort of introduction to the place that you're looking to get an internship at. So I would say, you know, keep your eye out, reach out on LinkedIn to people who work there, even at, you know, entry-level positions at the company you're looking at, and send them messages and just say, hey, I applied for this internship. You know, if you're able to put in a good word for me, that would be fantastic. Ultimately, I think coming into it with, you know, confidence, but a positive attitude and a willingness to jump in and really just help wherever you can. Those are the types of people when I'm hiring that I look for, even more than, you know, what specific tangible experience that they have. I want to know that they have the right attitude and the right mentality, and that they're really going to be a go-getter and that they're able to learn. So be open to learning and open to that, and you'll go really far.
Great. Do we have any other questions? Okay, I guess not. Going once, going twice. Oh, did something just come in? Oh, it did. What do you recommend should be our first language to learn when coding?
Yes, so I would definitely say some of the modern languages, so open source languages, I would probably say to focus on, which, you know, .NET Core and PHP are two that come to mind. It's funny because there's a lot of different languages available, and so it really does depend on where you end up and what language that specific company uses. So for me, we use PHP and .NET Core, and so that's why those are top of mind for me, but there's so many other ones. So I would just say, you know, you're going to want to dabble, and especially as a software engineer, if that's the path you end up taking, it's going to be really important that you understand the basic frameworks of most of the languages. And once you learn one really well, you're going to be able to transition between them. They all use very similar frameworks, so you'll be able to learn others pretty easily once you learn one.
All right. Any last questions, students? We have a couple minutes left. If you have some questions on your mind, you can directly send them to me. What certificates are good for starting?
Yes, so depends on really where you want to go. So I would look for, you know, certificates surrounding like what interests you. So if you, for example, like software development, you can get certificates in some of the languages or in some of the services that the hosting providers have, like AWS, you can get certified in a lot of things like that. I would say definitely any type of security type certifications that you can gain would be really helpful. Best practices related to that. Another really good one to understand is kind of the agile development methodology. A lot of organizations are moving more towards an agile development approach, which traditionally, people would develop in a waterfall type of methodology, and I'll explain the difference. Waterfall is just you develop everything, and when the whole entire thing is ready, it all gets shipped to production and starts to be used, versus agile, where you might have a big project you have to get out, but you're going to slice it up into smaller increments, and you're going to have quicker release cycles so that you can get something out to the users quicker, and they can give you feedback. And then now you've got this feedback loop going. So if you're interested specifically in development, I would look definitely into agile certifications to learn a lot about that, because that's really where everyone's moving to for the most part.
I think we have time for one more question if we have any last questions. Okay, if I was to apply for an internship for the summer, how long in advance should I apply?
That's a great question. I specifically, personally, have never offered internship type positions in my department. It just hasn't been something that my company has participated in. But I think typically internships will kind of be available whenever they are. So if you see one that's out there, you're going to want to look at the specifics about that specific internship, because a lot of times they'll have terms that are specific to that request. So find ones that match up with the time duration you're looking to spend. And if it's already been posted, apply for it right away, because if it's not set to start until the summertime, then there's no harm in applying as soon as it becomes available. So I would definitely keep your searching open for those types of opportunities and apply as soon as you find one that you're interested in.
And one last question. Do you think that people who have a knowledge in technology will have a significant advantage in performing jobs in general?
Yes, 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 yes. Everything that anybody does at any company these days is all backed by software, right? Very, very, very rarely are you going to see a job where you're having to handwrite things on paper. It's always going to be you're putting data into a computer and you're doing some sort of workflow through the software. So hands down, without a doubt, having some level of understanding of technology and how to use software will serve you in any position you look to get, for sure. And what's really important about that is if you're open to technology and to learning it and understanding it, you're going to be one of those people that, regardless of what department you're in, you partner with technology to help make the systems better. My team alone, we don't make our software applications awesome. It's all of the user input we get from people who actually use it every day that make it awesome. So always be vocal if you have suggestions for improvement with whatever technology you're using at your company. And strive to be a part of that process. It's so fun and rewarding. So great question.
Thank you, everybody, for your questions. We do have a student that's asking if they can get your contact information in case they want to ask you a question directly.
Yes.
Okay, so
absolutely.
Awesome. So then I can provide it to students who would like Mrs. Dalton's contact information. I have your email from the student check-in at the beginning of the presentation, and I can forward you that. Yes, I will send you the her contact information. I can see the direct message. And then I think there was a resource that you were going to provide me as well, Mrs. Dalton. And I can forward that to the students after the presentation as well.
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you
absolutely,
so
you guys.
much.
If you have anything, feel free to reach out. You can share my contact info with everybody, and I'd be happy to help you guys. And good luck in your choices. You're going to do great no matter what you end up doing. So.
Thank you so much. This was great and very informative. I'm sure the students really appreciate your time and all of your information that you provided them. Students, there is a link for the end of presentation evaluation, please go ahead and respond by clicking on the link in the group chat.